This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Athletics.
Leaping at the ball, it's gone! A towering drive into center field by Rooker.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
A judgy blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Swung on, hit high, hit deep to right, away back into the second deck.
Bobby Witt Jr. becomes the first shortstop in Major League history to have two 30-30 seasons.
Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to walk-off dingers to Hall of Fame talk. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
You know, right now we need a lot of things that are going to make us feel better, a little more positive. Our buddy Dennis from Hillmar just texted me. Going down for the birthday party in Anaheim for John Blue Moon Odom, turning 80 years old. Blue Moon, happy birthday to you. I don't know if today is actually his birthday. I can check.
Well, it is someone that's a part of our family's birthday today. And if I have to,
I rather talk about a World Series champion first. Three-time World Series champion than some play-by-play guy. Let's see. His birthday is May 29th. So that was yesterday. Happy birthday, Blue Moon. 80 years old.
80 years young.
I mean, you get to 80, it's a hell of a life.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get there. I mean, I'm only 30. What am I? I always say I'm 35. I'm 36 going on 37. I'm almost Steph Curry's age now that we're at NBC. And everyone, which everyone loves, Steph Curry in this building.
The three-time World Series champion, two-time All-Star, the great John Blue Moon Odom. Didn't realize it was his birthday yesterday. All right, we got a great show for you today. Eno Sarris from The Athletic is going to join us in moments. We will talk to Bill Moriarty about what's happening on the farm, because I know a lot of you are wondering, is there any pitching that can help? What is down there that can help right now? And then we're going to talk to Chris Carey. He's going to join us from Toronto. We have already taped, and you'll hear from the Mark Kotsay show. It's a real conversation about struggles. And the team is obviously struggling right now, having lost 14 of 15. They've been outscored 117-44. That's a minus 73 run differential. They've given up 10 or more runs 13 times. They've lost by 10 runs or more 7 times. The note that was hard to believe on that, so the A's have lost by 10 or more runs 7 times. We're not even out of May. No team in the entire sport lost by 10 or more runs 6 times all year. So these blowout games, oh, wow. It's crazy.
Well, not just that, and you guys are going to highlight it on Diamond Notes today on A's Cast on NBC Sports California, but the A's record in the month of May, going back the last 4 years, is 50 games under 500. They're 32-82. They're 7-19. It's the second lowest winning percentage this May, ahead of only the Rockies. And they're just ahead of the Orioles. So May has not been kind to the Athletics over the last few years, but in particular this year. Yesterday was the 10th time this month, like you mentioned, that they've given up, or 7th time this month they've given up 10 or more runs already. And they've done, I think, 13 times all year. So more than half is coming in the month of May. Not great for the team and the pitching staff ERA. Everything has just been awful for the team right now in the month of May. So can't believe I'm saying this. Can't wait for May to be over and we hit June. June is Sunday. So maybe the June swoon will come.
Yeah, How do you figure that out? May. What is it about May the last 4 years? Because it wasn't that long ago this team was 4 games over 500. This team was in second place right behind the Seattle Mariners. We're like, wow, we could be in for a good summer. And it flipped, and it flipped fast. And when you lose 14 of 15 what is it? You're 3-18 in your last 21.
Correct. Yep.
You've given up a home run, at least a home run in 11 straight games. I was writing some notes down here. I wish I had better news for you, but they've given up a home run in 11 straight games.
They've given up 50 home runs in the month of May.
19 of their last 21 games, they've given up a home run.
They had the second most home runs on the season. Only the Orioles have more.
The pitching is the issue.
Yeah, the team.
There's no question.
The team ERA overall in the month of May is 6.61. That's the highest in Major League Baseball. It's not close. We don't need to get into reliever ERA because we've been tracking that for the last X amount of games, but it's not good. It's almost 9.
The A's relievers right now have given up the most runs, and they've walked the most guys in baseball. That is a horrific combination. And they both go hand in hand. You walk people, you give up runs. I mean, I don't need an Eno Sarris 18-page article to tell me that if relievers be bad news. The great Eno Sarris, our national columnist here in the Bay Area from The Athletic. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. I like that shot of my word count there.
I'm saying I love your articles. I'm just saying I don't need one. If you're a bullpen and you walk people, that's disaster.
Yeah. That's an easy way to the minor leagues.
We just had Jed Lowry on, and you know how much Jed Lowry means to this organization, what he means to this show. He's one of my favorite players I ever covered, and I love the fact that he's on your podcast, Rates and Barrels. Jed being a Stanford guy, he's a very bright player. We recently had him on the show up at the ballpark in West Sacramento talking about the podcast he's doing with you. So we were promoting you on the show,
Right.
But just how great is it to have a guy like Jed who can give you both? He can give you the data side of it, and he can give you just purely the player side of it.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have him and Trevor May. So we got 2 former A's on the pod, Rates and Barrels, and I'm glad that he was talking about it. But also, it reminds me of a funny thing. I was in the clubhouse one time for the A's, and one of the PR people said, you could talk to somebody else other than Jed Lowry. So he was a favorite of mine when he was in the clubhouse. I was definitely always over there talking to him just for those same reasons. He's he's got some old school to him, but he also appreciates the newest research.
Well, you do a lot of research. Recently, the article talking about the strike zone. Isn't it amazing that we're still talking about strike zone? Hey, what's a check swing? What's not a check swing? We're always trying to figure out what exactly are the rules and how are we judging things like balls and strikes. Isn't it hard to believe 2025 where you're still having to do an article and you're talking about what they talked about in the offseason, what they want to implement, and is it a bigger strike zone? Is it a smaller strike zone? It's like, I can't believe we're still talking about this.
Oh, by the way, the ball is, there's more drag on the ball this year. It's a little bit deader than usual. Yeah, we do have these things. I would feel worse, except they do have the same discussion in football. What is a catch? I don't know.
Fumble,
yeah. What is a fumble? So, as we get more technology, we can define these things better. And so I always have an ear for people saying, oh, I'd rather have the automated balls and strikes because I'd rather we define the zone, we get it right, But there was an article that just came out with Ken Rosenthal where there is some error in the system. So basically right now we're getting 7% of calls wrong. That's what umpires are doing. They're getting 7% wrong. That's if you add up all the balls, inside the zone to the strikes outside of the zone, 7% of all calls. If we go, to automated balls and strikes, it'll be 2%. That's what an independent person has modeled, given what we know about the air. The air is about 0.2 inches. That's not a lot, but 0.2 inches will lead to 1 or 2% wrong. So how much do we want to give up to go from 7% to 2% or 7% to 1%? It's not getting it exactly right. So that's one thing. Another thing is, the way that it's implemented right now, there's like many strike zones. There's the challenge strike zone. There's the automated balls and strike zone. There's the umpire strike zone. And so if you're a minor leaguer going through the minor leagues over the last couple of years, you're going from AA to AAA to the major leagues, you will encounter 3 different strike zones, maybe 4.
Wow.
And
that's crazy.
That's the one we see on TV, that's a different strike zone. The one we see on TV is the front of the plate, right? That's
Yeah.
the front of the plate. The one that they're using in the challenge system in ABS, you know how the plate is kind of like a square with a triangle on top? They use the back part of the square. So that it's like into the plate. And the reason they do that is you'll have
part of the triangle. So it's the back part of the square, the start of the triangle.
Yes. And the reason they do that is that so that you have balls that become strikes over the plate. You know, like, so you think about backdoor breaking ball is like a breaking ball. It looks like it's a ball, and then the movement brings it back in to be a strike. Like, if you do that at the front of the plate, it might become a strike behind that. And so they kind of, they have this thing. So there's a lot of things that need to be figured out. Like if we're watching on TV and they're showing us one strike zone, and then the computers are saying, no, that wasn't a strike, but it was a strike on the one on TV, or the opposite, then people will be like, I don't believe anything.
It's a great point.
So there's a lot of things.
And then we can go to, then we all have the MLB app, and we're following the game on the app. And then
that should be consistent.
There's a strike zone that we see on the app that I always look and go, was that a ball or a strike? So then there's that strike zone.
But have you noticed a difference sometimes on calls on the MLB app versus what the TV is showing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's where that comes from. So, there's a lot of things to get out. The one reason I like the challenge is that I think that this is the way forward. And this is related to that story. So in that story, what we found is that the umpires are being judged differently. And they had a collective bargaining agreement this offseason, and they now are being judged on a 0.75 inch buffer zone around the strike zone. It used to be 2 inches. So that's tight. They want to tighten it. And, baseball is saying, oh, it's not a rule change. It's the same rule as ever. And we told everybody. But everybody we talked to hadn't heard about it. And I think the reason they hadn't heard about it because they hear about rule changes. Maybe they had been told, but they just didn't hear it. Like if you get told that the strike zone is going to be different this year, then you listen. Then the pitching coaches listen. Then the analysts listen. Somehow it was told to them in a way that they didn't get that, because we talked to a lot of people and nobody had heard the strike zone is going to be different this year. But if you change the way you grade the umpires, you change the strike zone. And so what we have now is the smallest strike zone it's ever been. It might be the most correct. It's the smallest. And what it looks like, if you heard me list all the different zones, what it looks like is the challenge zone in the minor leagues last year. So what I believe is that baseball is preparing everybody for the challenge system next year. We did it in spring.
Yeah.
I think they're going to roll it out this next year. And I like it. I think it's fine. It's a little bit tighter zone. We get to take part in the process. They challenge, they have to hit their helmet right away. It's a quick thing. We all get to watch the replay. It only can happen like 3 times a game, 4 times a game. So I think it's a good way to make sure the game doesn't end on a bad call. The biggest part of the game is not on a bad call, but also not necessarily, go all the way to the computers.
Well, I can tell you this. My first experience, it was the second game of spring. We were up in Surprise. It's either Kansas City or Texas, right? Yeah, so I think it was Kansas City. Was it Texas? So, no, it's Kansas City and Texas or Surprise. So it was either Kansas City or Texas. That's irrelevant, by the way. So I'm following the game with Johnny Doskow, and we saw our first look at it. And it happens like guy challenged it. It was like maybe 5 seconds. It's up on the scoreboard. Here comes the pitch. And it was whether it was a strike or a ball, and the fans went nuts.
Yes, the fans like it.
Yeah. And I immediately looked at Johnny Doskow and I said, this is a hit.
This is it. Yeah.
One time, and I went, and you know how I work, the first thing I thought was, man, we could sponsor this. We could monetize
it's definitely going to be sponsored.
Oh my God. I'm like, this is, and then it kept, then we started seeing it, and the more
like an optometrist, like the local optometrist,
totally right.
Get the call right,
I mean, you need to realize probably the best sponsorship in baseball, if we're going to go from a television and radio standpoint, because we have so many pitching changes, is the pitching change sponsor.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. If we're going to have all these relievers, and by the way, when you're making that reliever change, it's not during the commercial break. You're reading it live. The broadcasters read it live. I mean, here you go. It's another great sponsorship where you go, now top, whoever it could be. Since we'll be in Vegas, MGM Grand sponsor this. MGM Properties Resorts. But this is fans love it.
We're in the entertainment business, right? This is
no doubt
sports and entertainment, and so that the fans like it. Then also it takes the temperature down between the players and the umpires. I saw an interaction where a player said that wasn't a strike, and normally that starts, oh, okay, now we're bickering, now someone's gonna get thrown out, that sort of deal. And the umpire said, you could see it on his lips, challenge it then. That changes the interaction. She goes, oh, okay, maybe I will. And the umpire was like, I'm 50-50, like, what are you gonna take your shot? So, I think it could take the temperature down. It allows the framers still to have value. You're not taking value away from a whole group of catchers. I don't know. I think it could be a way to like introduce more precision without necessarily affecting the game at large.
Yeah, the bickering from the dugouts that happen every single game. It's gonna
challenge it.
Yeah, challenge it. You don't like it, challenge it. Now, instead of sitting there whining about it, you got something to do about it. Put your money where your mouth is. I absolutely love it. What are some other things? We just got past the 1/3 mark of the season. Memorial Day is always a checkpoint for front offices and looking at your team. What are some trends that you're noticing early in the season?
Well, it is an important moment. Also, just numerically, I found that 60 games, that the COVID season, it was the research I did for COVID season, was 60 games is about when you start to actually know if your team's good or not. So it is a big marker for looking at just overall records. And, I think basically, one team that's not in the race, the one team that's in the race right now will not be in the race on average, at the end of the season. And one team that's not in will be in. So, it's more about seeding, who's going to win divisions and stuff like that. So you can actually look at a record right now and say, okay, that's interesting. Just think about how the A's have had, great stretches and poor stretches. And, this is where they've ended up. I think they're still building, but this may not be the year that they win the West. And then, I think that otherwise we're seeing some of the same things we've always seen, which is like the Dodgers and Yankees are playing this weekend. They have two of the three most expensive rotations in baseball, $100 million rotations, both of them. And most of them are injured. So, basically 120 of the, 200+ million they've spent on the rotations are injured. So, that's more of the same. But I think you're also seeing some changes. I told you about this research that, every inning, every pitch that a starting pitcher pitches lowers the ERA of the bullpen the next day.
Ooh, I like that.
And so basically there's research out here that it's totally intuitive. It's like, oh yeah, if I don't use up my bullpen all the time, then they're better. But say
that again. Say that again. So every inning pitch by a starter,
pitch thrown by my starter,
every pitch,
lowers the ERA of the bullpen the next day. And what it started with is this research by Louis Polis, where he found that every pitch thrown by the starter reduces the ERA of the bullpen that day. That's a duh, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're like, oh yeah, if he goes to the ninth inning, then we just use our closer, right? So that's a duh, but it also works for the next day. And what you're seeing is a slight change, I think, in the way some people think about their starting rotations. And, in particular, when you look at which teams have gotten the most innings from their starters, the Royals are number one in innings from their starters. And what that does is, how do they get it? They sign guys like Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha. These aren't guys that are expensive. They're not the top of the market guys, but they are guys who turn the lineup over and go deeper into the games. And so that keeps their bullpen fresher, and that keeps their bullpen better going forward. Phillies have done a slightly more expensive approach to this by putting together one of maybe the best rotation in baseball. But they also are getting the second most innings out of their starters. And this is the one that really caught my eye. Tampa is third in innings from their starters.
That's crazy.
And that says that maybe there's something changing, right? Because Tampa's always like trying to be on the forefront of something. And Tampa used to be at the very bottom, and now they're at the very top. So they have changed their philosophy too, which is let's keep that bullpen fresher later. Let's keep, we have a bunch of starters, and yes, they have the same injury problems as everybody else, but they're trying to also, what you're seeing is you're building arsenals, sinkers are up. And so what that means is when you're building an arsenal for a starting pitcher, you give them sinker, cutter, four seam. Why do you give them 3 fastballs? Because it helps them turn the lineup over. Every additional pitch makes you more able to turn the lineup over. Every additional pitch, every wrinkle you can throw. If you can throw a cutter when they expect a four seam, you can throw a sinker when they expect a cutter. So you're playing the fastballs off each other the same way you play all the other pitches off each other. So we're seeing a rise in a number of pitchers that throw many pitches. And that's part of trying to go deeper into games. I mean, it's to some extent, it's what is old is new again. Like we used to have pitchers that had large arsenals. Then we had stuff, right? And everyone's like, "Oh, don't throw that pitch. It has low stuff. That's a bad pitch." And now you're like, "It may have low stuff, but it's a pitch they haven't seen a ton of today, and it might help me get into the 6th."
It's so interesting because you're a stuff plus guy. You're all about the plus stuff. But if I have an arsenal, if I've got this, like it's like when you go into a restaurant that has a huge menu. It may not all be great, but there's a lot of variety there, and I haven't seen all of it.
Oh, I was literally thinking about this in terms of I cook dinner for everybody in the household. I'm the chef, right? And I was thinking there are some of my meals that are so good that I'll just make them over and over again, and they're still happy to have it, right? And like I think my burgers are really good, and so they're always excited they run downstairs and have my burgers. There are other ones that are not as good, but if I stretch them out, like the meatloaf, the meatloaf's okay. But if we had the meatloaf like once every 6 weeks or something, or every 4 weeks or something, then they're like, "Hey, meatloaf," and they think, "Oh, okay, we've had enough for a month," So it's like, there's that element of surprise that makes things better. It's exactly right.
It's essentially for fans, it's pretty basic. Hitters who see the same stuff over and over again, they figure it out, right? Yeah. It's like how human beings work. The more we do something, the better we get at it. The more we see it, the more we practice it. So if you're constantly throwing different pitchers at me, and you're constantly throwing different kind of pitches from different arm angles and different speeds and different spins and all this the more variety that I see, the worse I am as a hitter. Yeah. And so that's something that we've seen that the Mets have been at the forefront of, just like making sure that everybody has 3 fastballs. The Phillies have done a lot of that, and it's been working for them. So we're also doing more research in how pitches fit together as an arsenal. And not for nothing, some of this new bat stuff is actually going to help us figure out stuff on the pitching end, which sucks for hitters. I'm so annoyed for them, but like what you can do with some of this is, you can actually now see when a batter is fooled in time and space, because you're tracking everything about that bat. And so you can see if it slows, or if it changes shape, or if it changes tilt. So you can see the batter's reaction to the pitch in real time through the bat tracking. And so then you can start to see like, oh, he was fooled there. His or indecision.
Yeah. And so you can, as a pitcher, you can be like, oh, these 2 pitches in concert with each other fool them. Think about just like a sinker and a sweeper. Matt Brash, he throws this banana peel stuff, right? It's called tunneling, and to some extent. But these pitchers are coming down, and then you have that swing, like, oh, this is the sinker, and then it's the sweeper, and you have to cover like 25, 30 inches of different movement. So, that's what we can do now with the bat tracking research. But I think there's also good stuff in the bat tracking for hitters. We're learning a little bit more about the optimal shape of a swing as it comes through.
Well, it's so interesting looking at everybody throwing the metrics and the data on Juan Soto right now, just showing everything's slower. He is just slower as a player, He's 26 years old, so you're entering your prime. So your bat speed shouldn't be slower. Your running shouldn't be slower. Your movement shouldn't be slower. It's amazing how we can look at every little thing about a player. And I'm just using Juan Soto as an example because he's off to a horrific start, and there's a lot of pressure. There could be anxiety. There could be stress. There could be all these different things. But the thing that we do know, everything he's doing from running to swinging to everything is at a slower pace.
Yeah, and it's complicated because the way that we get bat speed is we get it at contact, right? So if you get the ball out farther out in front, your bat has more time to get it to full speed. And one thing that Soto has done is revert. Now, he was in Yankee Stadium last year, right? So he's looking out at that short porch, and he went and he pulled the ball more than he ever had before. And he got the ball out in front more than he ever had before because he was trying to hit homers. He hit 40 homers, never hit 40 homers before, right? And his bat speed will look better because he got the ball further out in front. So there's some aspect of that. But even if you correct for that, you can correct for that and just be like, okay, let's look at contact points that are similar. Yes, he's swinging the bat slower. What he's doing is swinging the bat a lot more like he did in 2023. So basically, he's reverted, I think, to being a 30-homer guy. Now, that's fine with the elite eye, but what's also interesting about him is that he has a flat bat path. That's something we can describe now. And if you can watch him, you can see, oh, that's a flat. He likes it up at the top of the zone. And he's always just spitting on pitches at the bottom of the zone. At some point, you have to do something about that. So in his worst slumps, he's had to figure out, okay, I'm going to do something about these low pitches or else they'll never give me a high pitch again, right? So, there's things you can do. You can get in your legs more. You can kind of just bend over more. There are mechanical things you can do. And so he's found certain things and it's worked for him. But I think that the more platonic ideal, the way that people want swings to look is the way Aaron Judge's swing looks. He has a tilt on his bat path. And what that does is allows you to destroy everything at the bottom of the zone. And he's found a way to fight off things at the top of the zone and be fine up there too. But he has more tilt. He has a more sort of classically what we want out of a swing than Soto does. But he also swings and misses more because of it.
Fascinating stuff as always. I tell everybody, you want great sports journalism, go to The Athletic, subscribe, and of course, Rates and Barrels, your podcast is as good as any. Maybe next time we need to come to the house, do an A's Cast Live, and have Eno Sarris famous burgers.
That'd be good. That'd be good. I would love to do something with y'all. And one last thing I just wanted to mention. I just had Jeff Pontus on from Baseball America, and he was gushing about A's minor league pitchers. He was talking about Gage Jump, but he said generally there's something going on. He thinks that they're flush with pitching in the minor league level, which is good because that's what they need most of right now.
Oh yeah, can we have it now?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, buddy, great stuff. Always great having you. Be well. We'll make sure we get people signing up for The Athletic, and also Rates and Barrels, the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
The great Eno Sarris right here on A's Cast Live. Let's pause for station identification. What's in the minor league system? We'll find out next right here on A's Cast.
Here's the pitch, and it's a hit. Folsom Lake Ford has stepped up again, winning the Triple Crown Award, Ford Motor Company's highest honor, now 7 years in a row. Folsom Lake Ford is a top sales leader in the U.S., along with being top in customer satisfaction in sales, service, and finance. Now that's a home run. Don't miss the huge savings on your favorite models at your truck headquarters. Folsom Lake Ford in the Folsom Auto Mall.
A's catcher Shea Langoliers sat down with Townie on A's Cast Live to share the unique story behind his name.
My dad was a Mets fan growing up because my grandpa was a Yankees fan, so they had that natural going against each other. My dad was born in 1969, the 69 Mets. He graduated high school in 86, the 86 Mets. So he just kind of had that connection to him, and that's kind of how it happened.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
pitch to Tyler. Swung on, drilled to right, way back. Martini at the track. He will turn and watch it fly.
That swung on, drive to deep right field. Going back, Palacios, and it is gone.
2 payoff pitch, and Soderstrom launches this one to deep right. Taylor back, it is gone, and Soderstrom has done it again.
A's shortstop Jacob Wilson joined Towney on A's Cast Live to break down his approach at the plate with runners in scoring position.
I kind of just go up there and I trust my hand-eye coordination, be able to go up there, look for a strike, and knowing that if I swing, be able to put the ball in play, something that I work on a lot, and right there in the situations with 2 strikes, all you really got to do is put the ball in play and find a hole, and then good things can happen. Even right there, you hit a ball right at someone, they bobble it, the guy scores. Like, you put the ball in play, you put pressure on the defense. So for me, it's just being able to put, obviously put the pressure on the defense and trying to find as many holes as I can, try and score runs. And I love hitting the situations, love hitting the runners in scoring position. Anything I can do to put runs on the board and overall win the game. That's kind of why we play the sport, is to get wins. And last night one was pretty special.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
Calling all college and grad students. Grab your friends and head to the ballpark with this special offer. Save up to 50% off select regular season games throughout the 2025 season. Get your discounted tickets at athletics.com/student.
A's Cast Live continues from NBC Sports. Here's Chris Townsend.
I'm gonna be real honest. I got one question for Bill Moriarty from Athletics Farm. Can he get anybody out?
Well, probably we could use them. I mean, you might be able to go out there and get somebody out.
I don't know what I got left. My last official game was in 1995.
It's only 30 years ago. It's fine. You're well rested. You've had how many days off between starts now?
Who was my last game? I think my last game was against Reno. Reno turned Division I, I think, my junior year. I think my senior year, my last game might have been Reno, or it might have been St. Mary's. But that's where I'm at. I mean, how long is I haven't played in 30 years?
Well, 95, yeah, we're 30 years ago. Not to make you sound old.
Bill, I don't know what you got left. I don't have a lot. I mean, I might be able to give you a couple batters. What do you got?
Yeah, I don't think I have much more than you. I was going to suggest maybe you take a turn out there, but there aren't a lot of options. But I'll tell you, just about anybody would do at this point. It's kind of at an all hands on board situation at this stage of the game.
Mark Kotsay is coming up here, and he made a very good point. And fans don't want to hear it. Media doesn't want to hear it. But it's a really good point. These guys he's got in the bullpen are not longtime major leaguers. Mason Miller is just in his second year. They babied him last year. League has figured him out a little bit. He's still learning, making adjustments. My God, you got Sterner off waivers. Ferguson's a career minor leaguer. I mean, just go down. The Otanez now has been sent down. So I know fans don't want to hear it, but it is a reality. You've got a bunch of non-proven guys that got out to a kind of a good start, and Holman, another guy, brand new. I mean, these guys are all trying to figure it out. As much as we don't want to hear it, Kotsay is right.
Yeah, well, as we know, the problem with bullpens, whether they're experienced or rookies, is bullpen arms are always volatile. They tried to bring in an experienced guy with Jose Leclerc, and he got lit up too. It's so hard to find stability in bullpens these days, and unfortunately, the A's have really found a tremendous amount of instability in their bullpen this year. But I think something you were talking about with Eno, and I've heard you talk about before too, is the usage of relievers. If you're going to use 4 relievers in a single game, half your bullpen, you're failing, and those guys are not going to be as good the next day when you've already used half your bullpen in one game. Besides letting starters go longer, I don't think it would be a bad idea to let relievers go longer too, as long as they're looking good. A guy can throw to more than 1, 2, or 3 batters on occasion. Let him throw an inning and a half so you don't burn through half your bullpen, because these guys do get worn out, and then you can't use them the next day, and then you've got to use the back end of your bullpen that day. So, I'm with you in terms of letting the starters go a little longer, but I also believe you ought to let the relievers go a little longer if they're pitching well. You don't have to take them out after 1 or 2 or 3 batters. Let them pitch a little more, and then you're allowing other guys to have a little more rest. Everybody's coming back a little fresher. Hopefully some of the research that Eno was talking about earlier will trickle down, and maybe we'll start to see, some changes in those bullpen usage patterns in the near future.
So you are the guru of the A's minor league system. Who, if there needs to be reinforcements right now, who is down there that could help this bullpen?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not an awful lot. Most of the guys have already been given a try. So besides the guys who we've already taken a look at, probably the 2 guys down at Vegas right now I would look at next would be left-hander Ben Bowden, who was signed as a minor league free agent in the offseason. He was a former second-round pick of the Rockies many moons ago. But right now in Vegas, he's got an ERA of 1.16, which is pretty hard to do in Vegas. Only given up 1 home run in the first couple of months there, which is also hard to do. And he struck out about 23 guys in 23 1/3 innings. Now, Bowden's been around. I think he's 30 years old now. He had a brief look with the Rockies before, but he has been pitching well in the bullpen at Vegas. He is a left-hander. The other guy is a former major leaguer, real veteran of the major leagues, Dylan Floro, who the A's signed at a minor league deal in the offseason. And he was hurt to start the year. He's come back recently. And, he's got an ERA around 3.38, I think, in about 10 or 11 innings at Vegas. But I think he's about 34 years old too. But Dylan Floro has thrown almost 400 games in the major leagues, has some saves to his credit. He's been around. He's pitched for plenty of teams. He actually looked really solid for the Nationals last season. So I would say, if you're going to need relievers from Vegas, those are probably the 2 most likely guys: left-hander Ben Bowden, right-hander Dylan Floro. But after that, it's pretty much names we've already seen and tried before. But those guys would have to be the top of the list if you have to bring up any reinforcements at this point.
It kind of makes me think what I was talking about last night on postgame. Is the bottom line is the guys that are here, the guys that got to figure it out.
Well, yeah, I mean, that makes life a lot simpler when these guys can put it together. But again, I think, the usage has to be, questioned perhaps. Again, anytime you're using 4 relievers in a game, I think you're failing. Not only are you losing, but I think you're setting yourself up for failure in future games. So, I don't care what you're doing. I think you need to find a way to throw fewer than 4 relievers, half your bullpen in any game, whether it's a winning cause or a losing cause. Let the starter go a little longer. Let a reliever who's getting outs go a little longer. I mean, I see some guys who come in, get a couple hitters out, look sharp, and then they pull them and bring in somebody else. I think you're just burning through too many relievers if you're using your bullpen that way.
Eno Sarris just talked about, I can't remember the name of somebody who said, hey, by the way, the A's got pitching in the minor league system. And Luis Morales gets called up, the Cuban, to AAA first outing. Fantastic. I guess he got lit up in his second outing. What do you think from a timeline standpoint? It's kind of tough, right? But what do you think if this continues, if the losing continues, he will be here at some point?
Yeah, I mean, it's dependent on many things. One thing they like to see when pitchers are doing well in the minor leagues, they like to see them do it consistently for a little while, because like Morales, you could come out and look phenomenal, then you could come out and get lit up. They like to see a little bit of sustained success where they feel like, okay, you've reached that plateau, you're going to stay there. And then, of course, injuries and poor performance can dictate these things too. If guys keep getting lit up at the major leagues, obviously that pushes that button a little sooner on some of these young pitching prospects. But Morales, again, I think he's still just 22, and he got called up. This time last year, he was just starting at high A Lansing and not pitching that well, quite honestly. Right now, he got called up to Vegas. His first start, he threw 6 scoreless and hitless innings. He had 7 strikeouts, only walked 1 batter in his first start at AAA. That's impressive. Last night, he got hit a little harder. He gave up 6 runs in 4 1/3, 4 2/3 innings. Half of those runs were due to home runs that were hit in Vegas. And, that's always the problem pitching in Vegas. So I think it's going to be really key to see how he does over these next few starts in Vegas. If he can go back and look a little more like he did in that first start, it might not be long before we see him. If he's up and down, start to start, then it's going to take a little while before he gets here. But I think he's been someone who's been looked at the top pitching prospect, the A system, for a while. He had never really put it together, but this year he's really looks like he's finally putting it together. He's got that high 90s fastball. He's got a really good slider, and he's developed an effective changeup now too, which is really key. So, Luis Morales does look like he's on the verge of making a big breakthrough this year.
I will say this. I don't want to see him until you really think he's ready, because we do not need someone coming up here and going 2 2/3, shell shock, not ready to go. What we saw with Jacob Lopez in his first start in Texas, what we saw last night. And obviously he was great against Philly, but yeah, I'm at a point to where I'm not looking to rush any pitching right now, because we can't afford starters who are going to get knocked out early.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely sort of debilitating to everyone, to the team, to the pitcher. That's not something you want to see. And I know, speaking to David Forst in the past, when I had asked him about minor league pitchers who were doing well, he was really clear about, we want to see them pitch well on a consistent basis. We don't want to just see one phenomenal outing. We want to see them kind of reaching that plateau, knowing it's, they put it together and it's going to be there to stay. So yeah, they're not going to just see a guy doing really well in AAA in 1 or 2 starts and grab them. They want to see them doing that consistently. So that's why I say it'll be really key to see what Luis Morales does over these next, few starts. A couple other guys to keep an eye on though as well. Apparently TJ McFarland and Brady Basso, both left-handers, are probably going to start rehab assignments pretty soon. So those guys could be potential additions to the bullpen.
By the way, I like Basso.
I mean, he's got an arm, It's just, if he can be consistent and hopefully be healthy too. He's had a lot of injury problems over time. And, honestly, hopefully JT Ginn will be back before long. I mean, if the bullpen continues to look like it does, I wouldn't be totally opposed to trying JT Ginn in the bullpen for a little while. I think his stuff might play up there. He can give you multiple innings. And also, historically, he's been very fragile health-wise. So I think he might benefit from a little of the Mason Miller treatment for a while. And I think having an arm like JT Ginn coming out of the bullpen might help stabilize things down there a little bit. So, there are lots of options, and I'm sure they're open to trying just about anything at this point.
That's pretty interesting, because I've always compared him to Kendall Graveman, not because they went to the same school, but same size, kind of same body, and it's sinker slider, sinker slider, sinker slider. So their repertoire is the exact same. And where did Kendall Graveman end up flourishing? As a reliever.
Yeah, I think that's a repertoire that works well in the bullpen. And JT Ginn, he just does tend to get hurt one way or another quite frequently, and if you just have him pitching fewer innings out of the bullpen and letting him just work with those 2 pitches, and have the ability to give you multiple innings too. I mean, that really could be a really helpful thing to have in the bullpen at this point, I think.
Tell me about Gabe Jump.
Well, I'll tell you, Gage Jump has really gotten off to a phenomenal start.
Gage?
Gage, G-A-G-E, yeah. So he was just drafted last year as the A's comp pick, and started out the year at High A Lansing, and then got pitched so well there, got promoted to Midland. He's made 3 starts at Midland, has looked, pretty phenomenal in all 3 of his starts there. So in 3 starts at AA Midland, Gage Jump has given up a total of 2 earned runs. He has an ERA under 1 at AA Midland, and he's currently leading all A's minor league pitchers in strikeouts this season. He's got 67 strikeouts in 50 innings. He's averaging about 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. This is a guy who was just, in college at this time last year, and now he's turned in 3 dominant starts at AA so far, leading the A system in strikeouts. left-hander. Gage Jump looks like a guy who could be a pretty fast mover. I mean, if he keeps this up at Midland, he'll be up at Vegas before the end of the year, which is always the ultimate test. But yeah, I'd say behind Morales, you have to start looking at Gage Jump as possibly, the next most promising pitching prospect in the system. I should also mention, Jack Perkins, who on most people, including myself, ranked him in the A's top 10 prospects in the offseason, returned from the injured list and has been pitching at Vegas. He's looked pretty good. He's at least got an ERA in the threes at Vegas, which is hard to do. And he's struck out about 30 guys in 22 2/3 innings at Vegas. So Jack Perkins could be another one who's starting to get close.
Well, you know what? There's talent. That's good to know, right? That there's talent down there, and that maybe, I don't know, maybe after the All-Star break, who knows, maybe see some of these guys. But once again, I don't want anybody up here until they're ready, because this team can't afford – you can't be bringing up guys that can't give you 6.
Yeah, well, that's a problem. I mean, we've had issues with the 4th and 5th starters this year, whether it's health or performance. We started out with Beto and Estes; those guys are both gone, and so you end up having to try a lot of different things, and see what sticks. And not a lot of it stuck. I mean, JT Ginn was pitching reasonably well early on. Then he became a little ineffective, then got hurt. I think Gunnar Hoagland, has at least looked promising in his time here. Obviously, that one start out of Jacob Lopez looked really impressive. The other two, obviously, not so much. So, yeah, at this point, they're still trying out guys for the back end of that rotation. And, you're just going to have to see what sticks. It'd be great if Beto could get back on track and become the pitcher he looked like last year. His first outing in Vegas, he didn't give up any runs, but he did walk a lot of guys. And then his second outing, he did give up, I think maybe 4 runs. So he's still obviously trying to get back on track there. But besides him, the dominant guys in the rotation that you'd have to look at in Vegas at this point would have to be Luis Morales and Jack Perkins. If they can start to do what they've been doing on a consistent basis, then I think you could start to consider them. But I agree, you don't want to bring them up and throw them into the fire before they're ready.
I like Denzel Clark. I mean, Denzel Clark has struck out so many times. It's not competitive. I don't know how much longer they're going to go with that. I mean, obviously the defense plays, and it just shows you. It's like JJ Bleday. You got to figure it out. And JJ, we talked to Fran Reardon. Fran Reardon says JJ's looked great so far.
Well, both J.J. Bleday and Seth Brown have been absolutely on fire from the moment they landed in Vegas. J.J. Bleday is they've each played 3 games, I think, so far. J.J. Bleday is 6 for 14 with a home run and a double. And Seth Brown, get this, is 8 for 13 with 3 home runs in his first 3 games at Vegas. So definitely a little Vegas cooking has been good for the boys. Translating that back to the major league level would be great and would be very helpful. So we'll see what they do down there. But both those guys, certainly, at least they haven't looked dispirited at Vegas since their demotions anyway. They've definitely been rising to the challenge. So that's good to see. But if we need other hitters, there's other guys hitting. They've called up half the team, but there's still other guys down there hitting well too. Colby Thomas, Max Muncy, catcher Daniel Susak. They're all hitting really well at Vegas right now. So, those guys could all be potential additions if needed in the future too.
Could you see Thomas called up if they decide Clark is a little overmatched? Could you see Thomas called up?
I'll tell you, if Colby Thomas could play center field, he'd be here right now. I mean, he can technically, but he's not really a center fielder. The problem is, you've got Soderstrom and Butler in the corners right now. So, what are you going to do with him? Where are you going to put him? Colby Thomas, certainly in terms of the power, there's no question he's got it. He's hit this season, he's 11 home runs, 26 extra base hits. He's leading all A's minor leaguers once again in extra base hits, just like he did last year. He's got an OPS a little under 900. He's got the power. I'll tell you, the thing that holds him back more than anything, besides, not having an open spot in the major league lineup available, is he still does strike out a lot. And it's not just a matter of, we don't want that many strikeouts. It's that he does swing at a lot of pitches out of the zone early in the count. And the fear is that if he takes that approach to the major leagues, major league pitchers are just going to feast on him, and he's not going to be able to get to that power, So that's the main thing they've really been on him about is, you've got to tighten up that approach. You can't be swinging at balls early in the count. You've got to be more disciplined. You got to wait for your pitch, swing at those strikes, get yourself into hitters counts rather than pitchers counts. I think if he starts doing that, then we're going to be much more likely to see some opportunity for him, in the future, because the power is definitely real. I mean, for a guy who's only 5'10" or something, once he puts the bat on the ball, it just always flies. So, being a little more disciplined at the plate, being able to get to that power more consistently, again, especially if you're trying to do it against major league pitchers, that's the key for Colby Thomas to make his big breakthrough.
Watching guys come up here and constantly get down 0-1, 0-2, 1-2. We saw that with Nick Kurtz early. Kurtz figured it out. We're seeing it with Denzel Clark. It's like, I know we all love to preach patience, but you're not going to win being in pitchers counts. So that was one thing that we talked about with Nick Kurtz, and he started to do. David Forrest brought it up to us. Mark Kotsay is like, you just got to start ambushing. You got to be ready to go. I'm like, you get a pitch early that you think you can drive, you got to go a hacking. And I know we always try and we always tried to preach patience and taking pitches. But when you do that, and the pitcher comes up there and strike one, strike two, and you're down 0-2, the percentages would show you're screwed.
Oh, yeah.
Unless your last name's Tony Gwynn, hitting 0-2 doesn't work. So it's like, for some of these hitters, they got to realize when balls that they can drive early, they got to make sure they go a hacking.
Yeah, and there's sort of two parts of that problem depending on the hitter. One is guys like Nick Kurtz who are being too patient, and they get to the major leagues and the guys are throwing strike, and you're just sitting on it and getting into the pitcher's count. The other problem is more of the Denzel problem, where you've been taught to kind of a lot of times coming up in the low levels, particularly pitchers aren't throwing a lot of strikes, and a lot of these guys get into the mentality of if it's anywhere near the plate, I better hack at it, and that's the other problem is you're swinging at too many pitches early in the count, so you can go wrong either way, being too patient or not being patient enough. And I think we've seen, again, as I'm constantly told, that the gap between AAA pitching and Major League pitching is as big as it's ever been. And almost all these guys that come up, we've seen them struggle. I think Jacob Wilson is the one exception. Although late last year, he only hit about 250. He wasn't hitting like he is this year. But everybody that's come up, whether it was Butler or Soderstrom or Clark or all these guys, they've had a Muncy. They've had a real period of adjustment when facing Major League pitching. I think, a lot of these guys are told what to expect. When they get up here and see Major League pitching, they realize, this ain't AAA anymore. This is the big leagues, and it's a big adjustment for these guys to make. But one thing I think that's good is it is good for guys like Muncy and those guys to come up and see Major League pitching with their own eyes. And I think when they go back down to AAA, they have a whole different perspective on how they need to be thinking, how they need to be approaching things, and what they need to be working on to get back to the major leagues, because it's often a real wake-up call when those guys get to the big leagues and have to face major league pitchers. When you're out there having to try and hit against Zach Wheeler, I guarantee you there ain't many guys in AAA that look much like Zach Wheeler.
Yeah, no. Yeah, but I find that when we talk about the blur between the big leagues and AAA, and a lot of people I've been hearing say that the difference is greater than it's ever been before. But wouldn't the difference be because there's so many guys really floating between AAA and the big leagues? Because the numbers will tell you we're going to use over 800 pitchers again this year in Major League Baseball. A lot of these guys will float between the big leagues and the AAA. So yes, you still have the Zach Wheelers, the established guys, but we've got more guys than ever in the history of baseball bouncing up and back from AAA. So when I look at these bullpens, I don't know what's big league. I don't know what's not, because a lot of these bullpens guys at some point will be in AAA this year. Some point they'll be in the big leagues this year. So it's really hard for me to say, well, you come to the big leagues and pitching's different. You're facing every single night, you're facing guys that were in AAA this year.
Well, that is true, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of teams, really do try to still use that approach of make the starting pitcher throw as many pitches as you can, get him out of the game because you're not going to hit against him, and get those bullpen guys in because a lot of them are basically, half a AAA pitchers, So part of that reason for these guys wanting to get those starting pitchers throwing a lot of pitches and get to the bullpen is for that reason, because those are the guys you're usually going to feast off of, as we've seen guys doing against the A's bullpen, unfortunately, as well. But again, you could see Bleday and Brown, they didn't look like they had much of a clue at the plate for the A's. They go down to AAA and suddenly they're looking like all-stars. They didn't miss a beat, So there is a difference there, but I'd say the main difference is in the starting pitching. The bullpens may not be quite so different, but those starting pitchers in the major league and the starting pitchers at AAA, I think are a whole different ball game.
All righty, great stuff. Thank you for always keeping us informed. Thank you for what you do for A's Cast. It means a lot. You have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All righty, you too, Tony. Talk to you soon.
Bill Moriarty from Athletics Farm. He does follow him on X, because he gives you the skinny and who's coming up, who's going down, who's making the jump, because when guys go from AAA to the big leagues, guys got to go from AA to AAA. Well, that means the guys from A got to go to AA. There's always going to be player movement, and Bill keeps you updated on his Twitter account, on his website. He's fantastic.
Yeah, and I ended up texting Eno Sarris, and the writer was Jeff Pontes from Baseball America, who raved about our minor league system. So maybe the next time we're on the road, or maybe next week, because we have, I think, 4 shows next week in West Sacramento at the ballpark. Maybe we try to get him on and he can talk about the A's minor league pitching more in depth, because he's been around it, because he covers the minor league beat for Baseball America. So if he's raving about our minor league pitching with Gage Jump and Luis Morales and Mason Barnett, who I text Fran Reardon about yesterday, there's some of the guys that the organization likes. Barnett's the guy we got in the Lucas Ursig deal. So hopefully he can figure it out. I think he might be the next guy that comes up potentially from Vegas, because he's a guy they were trying to stretch out to go deeper in the games last year, and he's still doing it this year. But it'll be great when JT Ginn's back. I mean, we just need anyone that can get outs for the organization right now.
Innings and outs. I'm going to start a podcast, Innings and Outs.
It's actually not bad. That's a good name.
If you're going to go rates and barrels, I'm going to go innings and outs. How do you get them?
And it's just all pitchers and former pitchers that come on. There's no hitters.
You know what's funny too, with like our callers in the postgame show? There's a lot of bullpens that are not doing well. We're not the only one.
You're right. There's a lot of really bad bullpens right now.
Who do we got next?
Chris Caray.
We're heading to Toronto next.
When it comes to knocking it out of the park, nobody beats Folsom Lake Ford. Folsom Lake Ford is a 7-time Triple Crown Award winner, Ford Motor Company's highest honor, for being the best in customer satisfaction in sales, service, and finance. Step up to the plate for our biggest selection of new Ford models, including the legendary F-150, on sale now. Shop Folsom Lake Ford, your truck headquarters in the Folsom Auto Mall. FolsomLakeFord.com.
That ball is out of here.
Become an A's insider today. Visit athletics.com/newsletter and sign up to receive the latest team highlights, up-to-date news, features, and more, all delivered free to your inbox. That's athletics.com/newsletter.
Jacob Wilson sat down with Chris Townsend to share why the A's clubhouse believes they can win right now.
I think that we were talking about that in spring training, being able to, obviously we had some great signings that, great players come in, be able to lead the clubhouse, and then some extensions that we had, with the guys who called out last year. And, I think in spring training, we were talking about this is something we're excited for. And to be able to see it coming into full effect right now it's great, but it is a long season, so we got to keep working every day and keep trying to go out there and get those wins.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/AceCast.
Unlock offers and receive exclusive in-game features by downloading the MLB Ballpark app for iPhone and Android today. Plus, get the latest information on game time, schedules, and more.
Athletics reliever Hogan Harris joined Chris Townsend on A's Cast Live to break down challenges and adjustments required when transitioning between starting and coming out of the bullpen.
I'd say the biggest thing is there is still a routine. The difference is it's at 3 p.m. for a 7 o'clock game instead of right before the game. Like for me personally, I like to just go in, usually an hour before stretch or so, and then go get my body moving in the weight room, things like that. Get a crossword in, just kind of relax. Because at a certain point, that is kind of the fun part about the bullpen though, is that you never know. You really can't overthink it. You simply they're like, hey, you're in. I'm like, oh, all right, there we go. So you don't have time to overthink, you just kind of got to trust that, whatever you scouted for these guys, that's what it is. And then you just go in, and that is also a good thing. You're facing the guy once, maybe twice, instead of 3, maybe 4 times.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast. Calling all college and grad students. Grab your friends and head to the ballpark with this special offer. Save up to 50% off select regular season games throughout the 2025 season. Get your discounted tickets at athletics.com.
Streaming from NBC Sports, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
Cody Elias, Chris Townsend with you here at A's Cast Live. Mark Kotsay coming up in 15 minutes from north of the border. Kots will talk about the team, everything going on with the team. But we'll head out to the north of the border and talk to A's, radio broadcaster this road trip, Chris Caray. Chris, how are you?
Hey, guys. I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing okay, best we can, another day. So what did you guys, big first question, what did you guys do for Johnny D's birthday? Or have you done anything?
Haven't done anything yet. Last night we went out. We enjoyed a nightcap after the game and just celebrated with a few friends. It was me and Johnny and Dallas, our boss Dallaire, a few Dallaire's friends, and it was a great time. So I got to celebrate him and send him a drink or two, and then, an early night's sleep. And now we're here hoping for a win, guys.
Well, not a lot of people know this, but you and I like to enjoy the nightlife in West Sacramento and in Sacramento after games. What's the nightlife like in the 6, as the kids say?
I love West Sacramento. I love the nightlife in Sac. I try not to go out too much, but Toronto's a different level. Just so much vibrant culture, so many different places you can go. Great places to get a drink, great places to get some food to eat, some great late night eats too. We got some smash burgers last night. They were excellent. And, it's Toronto, man. It is as big league as it gets. And being north of the border for the first time has been very special for me.
I was just going to ask you, so this was your first time. I haven't been to Toronto. I've only been to Vancouver. So does Toronto worth the hype? Is it worth coming to visit?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's everything that everybody says and then some. There's a reason that people across the league love coming to Toronto. They love coming here. We, 4-game trip. Wish we had an off day, but because we're in the situation that we are, have to do things late after the games. But luckily we have 2-day games the next 2 days, so maybe we'll get some time to explore, in these next 2 days.
Isn't tomorrow like a weird start time, like 3:07 Eastern to
3:07 local? Yeah, 3:07 local, and I think that JP Sears is happy about it, considering the fact that he starts Sunday, and he'll be able to leave the ballpark a little bit earlier tomorrow, get a good night's sleep, maybe a dinner. And then be refreshed and ready to go in the home road trip finale on Sunday.
Do you know what it's like to work with somebody who constantly has everything on mute?
I do not. Johnny's pretty on top of it. I think sometimes he wishes that I was constantly on mute, but we're working. It's work in progress, and he's taken me under his wing, and he's done a great job. He could big league people on his birthday. He could, but he won't do it. He won't do it. Big old 5'9" for Johnny Doskow, not in stature, but in age. And has gotten messages all day long. Just so much love pouring out for the guy that we all know and we love. No, but I haven't had to deal with the mute button yet. Cody, are you slacking right now?
It's always on mute. It's always what would you? Are you ADD? What would you call it?
Safe.
No. It's beyond that. It's beyond being safe.
It's better than turning the knobs down and up and down the whole time. You just push the button down, and then we can talk about whatever we want. No one knows.
All right. Morale. What is morale like? You're traveling with the team. You're around it. You're what people know when you're traveling with the team. You're getting on buses together. You're around the hotel. You're around the players. We're not giving away government secrets here, but just tell us, when you've lost 14 of 15, it's tough to put a good face on it. Just what's the mood like?
Well, Townie, as you know, they're doing the best they can. I think it would be a lie to say the morale is super high right now. I don't think it is. I don't think it's super high in the booth. It's hard because we root for these guys. We want these guys to succeed night in and night out, and they've just been on such a tough snag. 18 lost of their last 21 games. I mean, that is less than ideal, and the guys are doing the best they can. They're still going out. Mark Kotsay is still available for the media, still going out, making himself accessible, taking ownership of some of the situations here and the team's performances or lack thereof. When you get blown out 12-0 against a team you have very little familiarity with this year, and you've already lost by 10 plus twice now on the road in this road trip alone, you're really trying to pick up the pieces and figure out exactly what to do. So, you've seen the lineup, you see what they're trying to employ today, and it's 4 really young guys at the bottom of the order, and maybe that'll be what mixes it up. But right now, there's a need for something to be figured out, and they understand time is of the essence because, you still are in May. This is May 30th. You have one more day left in May after this, and then you have June, July, August, and then all of a sudden it's September. And it's going to take a lot to make up the ground that you've lost in the month of May. And I think that they're aware of that. And it's just going to take one really, really big win to turn things around. But morale it's low, guys. And I think right now everybody's trying to do their best to support each other. And that's all they can do right now.
Well, if you're going to get the win, you got the guy on the mound tonight you want, right? Jeffrey Springs been hot in May.
Yeah, 3 straight quality starts. I mean, definitely figured it out. Has not been defeated in the month of May, and in 5 starts has been really good. Almost just a flat 2 ERA. I think it's 2.04 in the month of May. So has definitely turned a corner. And in a time where the A's need it most, they need Jeffrey Springs to turn over another great outing against the Toronto Blue Jays, a team that he does have familiarity with, whether it was his time with the Rangers or the time with the Tampa Bay Rays. Now is the time to not only rely on Jeffrey, but support him offensively early and often.
Yeah, the first couple innings have always been, this season have been really, really poor for Jeffrey Springs. So hopefully he can have a solid first and second inning and they can move on and score some runs and be ahead instead of them being behind by multiple runs as he pitches deeper in the game. Because as he pitches deeper in the game, his ERA goes down as the stats have shown. But what do you expect to see from Chris Bassett, old friend Bassy on the mound, Seabass, for the Blue Jays pitching against the A's? I know he's been decent in his, several starts he's had, but he's looked pretty good this year. He's been Toronto's best starter. He has an ERA under 3.5. So what are you looking to see from Bassett tonight?
Same thing I always look for when I see Chris Bassett. A lot of different pitches and keeping hitters on their toes. I was going through the clubhouse and I was watching Jacob Wilson do some BP, and he was asking about the sinker usage. And he said, does he throw 70% sinkers? And I think it was Chris Crone that said, he throws everything. And that's the truth. So it's not even a matter of primary, secondary, and tertiary. I mean, he has 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th pitches in his arsenal that he's willing to use, and the A's are going to have to be ready. And I remember last year what Mark Kotsay said is sometimes you got to pick a spot, pick a pitch, and pray to God that that's where he's going, because that's the type of pitcher Chris Bassett is. He's been effective. It's another home game. He's been successful at home this year. I think this is going to be a tough task for the A's, but at the end of the day, it's been tough over the last 21 games or so, guys.
Yeah, I mean, kind of breaking down strategy at this point, really, when you've lost 14 of 15 and you've been outscored 117-44, it's like, what exactly are we really talking about here? But I mean, it's got to start at some point. Mark Kotsay's coming up after this. We talked to him about it. You've dug yourself a hole, but like in life, it's now time. You've got to dig yourself out. You've got a mountain to climb. And if you are able to get out of this, you will all be better people for it. Yep. You've got to learn how to deal with adversity. This is true adversity. And no one's going to feel sorry for you. The Toronto Blue Jays are coming out to kick your ass today again. They want to put a whooping on you. And every other of these teams have done nothing but they want to, and excuse my language, but they want to kick your ass. They want to take your lunch money. And at some point, you need to stand up as 26 men and say enough is enough. I know the callers after the game want to talk about the manager and the coaches that the players play. These players got to figure it out. And for some of them, if they don't figure it out, they won't be in the big leagues. I mean, this is what it is. But if you are able to figure it out and start playing better and do something, they will all be better for it, not only in their careers, but in life.
Yeah, no, and I mean, Dallas Braden says it, you've said it, you learn a lot about yourselves when you win. You can almost arguably learn even more about yourselves when you lose, and they've lost a good bit. What do you do when you fall off the horse? You get back on and you ride away. And they're in the try and get back on the horse, but it seems like this horse is 17 feet tall, and you're going to need a step ladder for it to get on. So, we know, and they know what the task is at hand. The schedule has not been favorable to them in the month of May, but you are also correct. Teams are winning at the ballpark in West Sacramento. It's just not the home team. And so, it can take one game to turn things around, and slowly but surely, I'm not expecting an 11-game win streak out of this team anytime soon, but to string together 4 or 5 wins in a row is possible. And with the talent on this team, it's plausible if they're able to come together. And, it's not about strategy, Townie. It's not about, it's just about focusing on the task at hand and somebody being able to say, you know what, like you said, enough is enough. And I think we saw a snapshot of that last night with Sean Newcomb, who has not been with the team all year, but having a stabilizing veteran presence out of the bullpen, 3 1/3 scoreless innings, coming in here and saying, I don't want to run up the bill anymore. And, the rest was fine. So we'll see what happens, guys. At the end of the day, this is a fun A's team. They've run into some really, really bad luck in some of these games, but, they got to win some.
All righty. Tomorrow's the big day to take Johnny out because obviously you guys are working. What are the plans tomorrow? What do you got?
I think we're going to go get sushi at a sushi spot.
There he is.
What's up, boys?
Happy birthday, Johnny D.
Thank you, guys. Good to see you guys.
Today is your special day.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited. It's been good day. Really good day, man.
71 years old. Good, clean living.
I tell you what, I just want to win for my birthday. Seriously, just give me a victory. Whatever. I just want a victory.
Have you ever spent your birthday in a foreign country?
I have. 32 years old when I was with the Fresno Grizzlies. We played Calgary. So I was 32 the first time. The second time I spent in Canada. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to text you now because you're doing the change-up. I requested you on the change-up on NBC.
Thank you, Tony. I know that. Thank you.
The first question is going to be, I'm going to ask you about your birthday and what are the big plans and what do you want for your birthday? And then you can respond, I want an A's win.
That's what I'm going to do. I want an A's victory. All I want is A's win. That's all I want.
Well, Amelia Schimmel made this video for us, and I'm going to play it for you before we get to Mark Kotsay. We're going to relive one of the greatest moments in A's history in recognition of Johnny D's birthday.
And the pitch. That swung on and fouled up here. Look out. We got it.
You did it! Oh, my goodness! Oh, my goodness! Look!
I got one. I'm not throwing it back either.
Oh, my goodness!
Oh, Johnny Doskow with the catch! Johnny Doskow beats Dallas Braden to a foul ball. He is loving it. And
so there you go.
Awesome. Wow,
we shared it with you for your birthday. I put it out on social media. It's on X, and it's on our.
Maybe lay off the donuts, Doskow. You see that little boiler I had on that.
It's your birthday. We won't say anything.
No, we're not even gonna bring that up. Hey, look, what did you do with the ball?
The exact same outfit as I was wearing when he caught the foul ball. So maybe a birthday foul ball for John.
Yeah. What were you saying, Tony?
What did you do with the ball?
I still have it. I have it in my backpack right now. Yep.
Oh, you got to do better than that. You got to get a case for that. You got to preserve that.
I know. I got to have Butler sign it. I got to have Lawrence sign it for sure.
Yeah.
And then put it somewhere. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you for stopping by. You guys have a great call. Happy birthday, Johnny. I'll talk to you coming up here in a little bit.
Okay. Sounds good.
Folsom Lake Ford is the sponsor of the Mark Kotsay Show. And Mark Kotsay, hey, let's be honest. I don't know how every organization works, but clearly, you know, what we've done the last couple of years is Kotsay knows we have a show we're going to do every single week, and we're going to do it. It's not always easy. And he answers the questions. The way I do it is, you know, we're going to ask about, you know, stuff that's going on in the losing, but we're going to highlight some positives and some players. And Mark Kotsay is nothing but a pro, and it's great to have him. And it's not easy. It's not easy to be the manager when you lose.
Yeah, and especially the way the teams are losing now. So I thought he was in pretty good mood when we talked to him today. So
yeah, I mean, all you can do is work your way out of it. It is what it is. Here is the Mark Kotsay Show. Kotsay Show brought to you by Folsom Lake Ford. Kots in Toronto, how are you doing?
We're doing all right. You know, this is game 4 of this road trip, and it's always, you know, Toronto's a great place. It's a beautiful stadium. They've done a lot of stuff to this ballpark to enhance it, and you know, we're obviously here and trying to get a win.
Yeah, you know, obviously during tough times, it's not easy, and it's not a lot of fun for yourself, for your staff, for the players. But the thing that the fans always need to know, that the only way out of this is hard work and digging your way out of it. Talk about what you and your staff are doing with the players to try and turn things back around to where you were when you were having a lot of success this season.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we obviously are grinding, and it's not for lack of effort. I mean, we've come to this ballpark early both days. We've gotten out on the field. We're continuing to take early batting practice. We got early defensive work after that the last 2 days. So, you know, that's really the things that we can control, right? We understand, you know, we have to go out and just the things that we need to take care of. We need to obviously be prepared, right? We have to have a plan. We've got to strategize, and then you've got to go out and execute. And the execution comes down to the players. And at that point, you know, you can't control the results. You know, there's a old Greek kind of philosophy where you've got the archer set. He's got the arrow pulled back. He's like the best in the world class. You know, I mean, the hips are lined, the arrow's on the target. Like, and once he lets that arrow go, there's like this gust of wind. And he misses. That's the gust of wind that you can't control, right? Like, he's done everything right, and he lets it go. I mean, that's the preparation part, right? As long as we're doing everything right, you know, you can't control that result.
And also, I felt like during this time, too, there's been part of it's luck, too, right? Certain teams have stuff go their way. Certain teams don't. Have you felt like there's also been some breaks that, and I know we're not trying to make any excuses, but I know there's just been some breaks that haven't gone your way?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, right? You understand that, you know, you run into stretches like this, as you talked about to start this off. It's not fun, but we've got to get back to that, right? We definitely have to get back to enjoying playing this game, you know, to have that mindset that, you know, when you're standing on the mound, that you're the man. It's not the guy in the box. Like, you're the man, and creating that mindset when things are going well. It's easy to feel that way. When things aren't, you know, you start to get into questioning, you know, and lack of confidence, and those are things that are being talked about and addressed. And, you know, obviously we were a team that had success, you know, right out of the chute. For about 36 plus games, I think. And there was a point where we were 20-16, and things have turned. And through that turn, there's been a combination of lack of execution and, you know, some bad luck.
Well, there are some good things going on, and that can start tonight with the guy who's on the mound. Just talk about what you've seen from Jeffrey Springs in the month of May.
He's done a great job. He's turned it around. You know, he had a tough April. You know, there's times when, you know, you challenge guys, and Jeffrey was one of those guys that we had a good conversation coming off a really bad start. And there, you know, when things aren't going well, you're always looking for solutions. You're always looking to maybe make change, right? And there was a conversation between he and I about opening for him, and he said, "I've got this. Let me get one more shot at going back out there." You know, and getting this thing right. And he did. And since that day, he's done a great job going out and giving us a chance to win every time he takes them out.
No doubt about it. And I also think another positive is Luis Severino. You know, he threw in between his starts. He threw from the mound in Sacramento. Then he went out and had a good outing at the ballpark in West Sacramento, and then he followed that up with another good outing in Houston. I mean, he's got one of the best road ERAs in all of baseball. So kind of righting the ship for him. We talked about trying to get him and make him feel more comfortable. Do you feel like you're at that place right now?
Yeah, I think we are. I think Sevy knows that. Has built confidence coming off that last start in Sac, and obviously continued to throw the ball well in Houston. And it's been unfortunate because his starts have been quality starts that have given us a chance to win. We haven't been able to finish those games off and take advantage of those starts. So, again, you're looking at every area to try to address, to try to, figure out kind of what the issues are and how we can work through them and how we can improve on them. This team last year, from the pitching side, we weren't in a position to say, okay, well, like, this is the area we need to address. I thought these guys did a great job. If you look at the guys in the bullpen, Ferguson, Holman, Miller, those guys that have been in those leverage situations, now they're getting challenged, right? And so this is a point where they're still maturing. Mason, 1 year of closing. This is his second year. The league's made some adjustments, and he's now making those adjustments back.
That's something that'll happen your entire career. A lot of people don't talk about it from the moment Mark Kotsay showed up as a Florida Marlin throughout your career. You adjust against the league adjusts against you. We don't really think about that. We don't talk a lot about that. I think Mason Miller's a great example. I mean, Sterner's a guy that, you claimed off waivers from Tampa Bay. Ferguson is an unbelievable story. Most of his career has been in the minor leagues. He's still figuring out. See, you still have a lot of these guys in this bullpen are trying to figure out how to do it on an everyday basis at this level.
Yeah, no question. And not just in the bullpen, but I mean, in the starting lineup as well. Yeah. And, again, you talk about the adjustments that the league makes, and they do. And there's more information in the game now than ever. And it was funny. I was talking to Darren Bush, our bench coach, today about, okay, so Shea Langeliers is in his third full season. If you look back, he and Rook were the only two guys on that 23 team for the full season that are currently on this roster. And that says something. It should jump out, to people that it does take time. And we got off to a great start. We can, and we know we're better than what we're playing right now. But it's still a process that we're in, and you still have to be cognizant of the journey that these guys are on and the time that it takes to be established in this league.
I think a lot says about your clubhouse, Miguel Andujar, what he's been able to do, where he had not been a full-time third baseman since 2018. That's a long time. Obviously moved out to the outfield to try and keep him healthy throughout his journey. And for him to say, you know what, I'll go back to the infield, and not only go back to the infield, to flourish with the hitting streak. What does it say about a guy like that as a leader by example, as a teammate, when you're just so unselfish and you take on challenges like that?
No, it's just a lot about the person, right? He just loves to play the game. And that's what I'm talking about, that joy of playing the game, the energy that he brings day in, day out. Another example of that is Tyler Soderstrom. Tyler, was a starting first baseman for us in April and was moved to left field willingly, moving out there and just, hey, if Kurtz gets here, he can help us. It's another bat. I'll go play left field. And he's embraced that. And he's played a damn good left field in the short amount of time he's out there. But again, these are guys that like you talk about, it takes an unselfishness and a team first mentality to be willing to go do that.
We had Fran Reardon on the program recently to talk about some of the call-ups, and Fran got a little emotional when he was talking about McIver and Logan Davidson, a guy who's 28 years old. And in his first game, he gets his first career hit. It's the game-winning RBI. He throws out Rojas at second base against the Phillies to win the game. Logan Davidson, it was kind of a tough debut, but the next day he shows up and he gets that big double for you. And you're talking about guys making their debuts at 28 and 27 years old. Yeah, it is pretty emotional. Just, there were the changes made for the Phillies series. Just talk about some of these changes, and even though there's been some tough times, having a 28-year-old and a 27-year-old make their debuts and have success, that's something really positive.
No, it is. And for us, I mean, I think we've had 10 major league debuts this year, which out of the 44 players is, I'm not sure there's another team that can say that. But for us, yes, it's exciting to get these guys up here and give them an opportunity to impact this club. We had them in spring training. Willie McGuire, I mean, this kid is electric with energy, right? And he's a baseball player. And both these guys are. I mean, for Logan Davidson, our first round pick, and I believe it was 2019.
Yeah.
And then he goes through the COVID year, right? And that sets the development back. But yet he still continues to grind. He still continues to believe in the organization that gave him, an opportunity by drafting him to stay with us and to continue his journey and to be rewarded as, he's going to go out there today, play second base. He's played first base. And he's a multifaceted player around the field.
Do you feel you've gotten better defensively with the moves that were made last Friday?
Well, I think we have a talented kid in center field, right? The Denzel Clark kid. He's shown us his ability to go get it. But you look at what JJ Bleday did for us last year and the impact he had on our club. And, I think JJ, he's gone to AAA for this window. He's had a couple nice games, to build that confidence back. But like you talked about, we knew the area that we want to improve in, and that's the defensive side. This road trip, we've seen it impact the game, in Houston. And we're aware of those, those challenges that present in front of us, but we're going to continue to work on them just like we started this show with.
When you start talking about coming together as 26 men and to dig out of this, obviously you're at the head, right? You're the head guy, you're the manager, but it always can't come from you. It's got to come from the players themselves at times. So I'm sure there's been players only meetings. I'm sure there's been times I saw at the ballpark, TJ McFarland, who's 35 years old, been around for a long time, a lot of experience. I saw him pull all the bullpen guys together. But when it comes time to players talk to the players, who are the guys that you have seen step up and take that leadership role to help these guys dig out of where they are right now?
Well, I know Rook is that guy that is, continuing to try to, lead this team and be a big part of that messaging process. Shea Langlaers is a guy that just does it by his actions. But again, if Rook is our oldest veteran player with 3 years in the big leagues and he's expected to be that leader, there's a lot of responsibility that comes along with that. And, he's openly accepted it and he's, leading it. But ultimately it comes down to this group of young guys figuring it out together, right? And continuing to talk to each other and continuing to just grow that bond that eventually, like you said, will get us through this and they'll be better men for it when we get out of it.
There's no question. You will. You all will. I mean, that's the deal with life, right? We all have hurdles and we all have mountains we have to climb. But once you do it, it makes you better. It makes you not only better in baseball, it makes you better in life. So, yeah, once you guys get out of this, you'll look back. It's going to suck. But the reality is you'll all be better for it.
That's right. No, that's right, Tony.
Kotz, great stuff. We appreciate it. We'll see you back at the ballpark in Sacramento. The Mark Kotsay Show brought to you by Folsom Lake Ford.
Calling all college and grad students. Grab your friends and head to the ballpark with this special offer. Save up to 50% off select regular season games throughout the 2025 season. Get your discounted tickets at athletics.com/student.
This has been a presentation of the